Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm Frederick County Executive Jan Gardner, and joining me today is someone that many of you probably know, Carlos Klein, who's the founder of the Women's Giving Circle and involved in many good things in the Frederick community. So welcome, Carlos.
Thank you for having me here, Jan. I'm tickled.
Well, we're excited to have you, and I thought maybe you could introduce yourself to our viewers by sharing a little bit of information about yourself and about the Women's Giving Circle.
Well, I'll tell you about how I started the Women's Giving Circle and why. I moved to Frederick in 1990, and around 2000 I had some health issues. And I was a single female, had a great job, and as I recovered, I thought about how I was in a great position, and there were a lot of women that weren't as lucky as I was, and that if the circumstances had been different, I could have been in great financial trouble. So once I had my energy back, I got a group of women together and gave them the idea about gathering women together to help improve the lives of other women. And once the Women's Giving Circle became official, it just got rolling, and it hasn't stopped. It became bigger than I had ever anticipated. And the Community Foundation does the financial part. We've raised about $2 million.
Wow. We
have close to 300 members, 298 women and 2 men. Okay. It's a very, very diverse group. And we have a grant cycle where we have a criteria. Nonprofits apply for the grants, and we give them out according to where the biggest need is. And we follow them closely to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing with the money.
Right. So they're accountable, and they
are accountable.
So that you know that the money you're raising through the Women's Giving Circle is hitting that targeted goal.
It is. And some people say, well, why wouldn't I just give my money directly to the nonprofit? But this way you can make one donation, and it goes right back to the community, and we help decide. We do the homework, essentially, and decide where it should go.
Well, and together, it makes a bigger impact.
It does.
And I think it's important for people to know that the Women's Giving Circle, all of the members of the board, all the leadership positions are all volunteer.
It is
so
all
that
volunteer.
100% of the money goes back into the community for the purposes it's designated for.
That's important.
I think it is.
We don't waste anything, and new programs have been started with the money, and because, as you said, when you pull the money together, it really does make a bigger impact.
I think it's also important to say that, you always have or frequently have lunches for the Women's Giving Circle, which people can attend who are not members. And you have speakers who are often people who have been supported through funding through the Women's Giving Circle, and they talk about what they do. And I think that's very enlightening. It really improves awareness of all the organizations that are out there lifting women and families and community through the work that they do. And it lets us know what's happening in the community that we might not otherwise know.
Well, I know raising the $2 million is great, but for me, I think the best part is the luncheons. The energy and the dynamics and the connections that are made during those luncheons are amazing. And as you said, the speakers touch your heart. And you know how if you get a car through Second Chance Garage, when you had no car, then you can live in a better place, you can go to a better place to work, your kids can do things after school. A car impacts a lot, and things like Second Chance Garage make a huge difference.
It does.
It's very cool.
So, all of this started out of your personal experience and trying to give back to the community. And I think Frederick is a special place because people do care about each other, and the community itself works together to lift each other. But what do you think are challenges to women in particular, whether it's in the workplace or in education or just being successful?
I would say there are many challenges, but there are many challenges for men also.
Yes.
But I do believe for women, the glass ceiling has not been a myth, and I think it still is out there in some cases. And I know I shake my head about some of the examples that I experienced personally and what other people have experienced, but I think that with persistence and hard work and a can-do attitude, women have been able to overcome that in many, many cases and are saying we're here to stay. We're not going backwards. And so I think over the last 50 years, women, certainly there are so many more in the workplace and so many leaders, female leaders in companies, and female entrepreneurs. So it's getting there. It still has a way to go, but it's getting there.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Who are some of the notable women that have influenced your life or motivated you?
That's a great question. I had no role models as a young woman or a child. So I actually had the challenge of trying to overcome the women that were in my life, which seems strange, but that's the reality. And when I came to Frederick, that's when I met women that were great mentors. Ramona Remsburg, she was the president of Frederick County National Bank. Faye Cannon, she was the president of F&M. They were always available to give me advice and help me because I was in a mainly male-dominated industry. And they were the first female bank presidents for their banks. So, but the best one was Ann Burnside Love. Mm-hmm. She was the founder of Love & Company, and she came to me and said, I'm going to make it my personal goal to get you involved in the community. And she did that full force, and she's been a great mentor for over 20 years.
So there are some great women leaders in our county in history. I mean, the hospital was first started in fundraising by a woman in the 1890s, which is kind of unheard of. And we've had women who have been notable in many professionals. And so there is still a ways to go. I do think women do have some challenges that are still out there. Some people think that's not so true. And I know with the younger generation, my own daughters, my daughter-in-law, they'll still give me examples of things where they've had to do a little extra to get what they wanted to accomplish, mm-hmm. But they've been able to do that. And sometimes that surprises me, that challenge still remains. But we're making great progress, and I've always thought, I came from a family where women were in charge, so I always thought that's the way it was. And so, any advice that you have to women in Frederick County?
Well, I would say always have a can-do attitude, and maybe go above and beyond. It's for women and for men, mm-hmm. if you want to succeed. And I don't think women should get caught up in the fact that they're a female and think they have to work harder. I just think you need to work hard to get ahead. And stay out of cliques and gossip. I mean, they're truly, truly important. And take on any challenges that are given you. And always make yourself #1 priority. Because I think women juggle too much. And if they're miserable or suffering, then no one else is happy. So you got to make yourself #1 priority.
I think that's advice I need to actually take a little bit.
I don't think you'll take it.
It's there's always a lot to do, and so many of us
when you're here
want to
14 hours,
keep plugging away at it. But I did want to have you here to talk about the Women's Giving Circle and the great work that you've done in the community. You certainly have a reputation for being a dynamic, energetic, powerful woman with lots of great relationships. And I do think a lot gets done through relationships. It's how it gets done in business and in politics and in community. So I think that is a great message for everyone. And it is Women's History Month, so I wanted to talk about the importance of women supporting other women in our community. We have lots of women leaders, but people can be leaders in lots of different ways. It doesn't have to be just a visible leadership position or the president of a company or someone who organizes community events. I think people can make a difference in whatever they choose to do every day in their life.
I agree.
And so I appreciate everything you've contributed to women in our community. And I do want to read a proclamation for Women's History Month, but before I do that, can you share with people how they can get in touch with the Women's Giving Circle?
Well, the best way would be we have a website, Women's Giving Circle of Fred.org, or through the Community Foundation. Or they can call me directly at 240-357-6400.
There you go. There's no better way than that personal touch. So now for Women's History Month, I do just want to read a proclamation about Women's History Month. Whereas Women's History Month is a time for recognizing the many social, economic, cultural, and political accomplishments of women and the impact they've had on our daily lives. The theme for 2017 is honoring trailblazing women in labor and business through vision, hard work, which you certainly mentioned, determination. Countless American women have broadened opportunities for themselves and for others. And whereas Frederick County has a rich history of women as leaders in business, government, law, science, medicine, the arts, education, and many other fields. As mothers, sisters, wives, and daughters, these women bring compassion and integrity to our county. And whereas I commend the Frederick County Women's Giving Circle of Frederick County, founded in 2006, for bringing women together to share a common philanthropic goal to benefit women's needs and providing opportunities for donors to promote and support programs that enable and empower women in challenging situations to improve the quality of their lives and the lives of those for whom they are responsible. And I encourage our citizens to follow in the footsteps of such great pioneers in Frederick County as St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, abolitionist Ariana Trail, Judge Catherine Dufour, Chief Petty Officer Henrietta Rosenstock, fashion designer Claire McCardle, and many others. We're grateful for their sacrifice and for their families and communities that have supported them. So now, therefore, as the County Executive of Frederick County, Maryland, I proclaim March 2017 as National Women's History Month in Frederick County and commend this observance to all of our citizens. And so I thank you for being a leader in Frederick County and for joining me to celebrate Women's History Month in Frederick County.
Thank you so much for having me here. This was great fun.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Community Conversations. And if you're interested in the Women's Giving Circle, you can certainly Google it and find out more about it online. Thank you for joining us.